What is going on, YouTube? It's your boy Mr. Moxymans, and I am coming at you guys today with the YouTube debut of the BMDL. The Brawlic Moxie Draft League is here on YouTube. So for those of you who are not familiar with what a draft league is, it is typically you get a group of teams. Ours caps out at 16. We currently have 12 people playing in the league, and you all take turns picking certain Pokemon from set tiers. Because this is VGC Regulation G, single restricted format, we all get to pick one restricted. The league sort of started way back when in Regulation A, when as a diverse group of Pokemon players, we had some shiny hunters who just wanted to have some fun. We had beginners who were really looking to get their feet wet in VGC, and some of us who, we just want to keep sharp, stay on our toes. So the BMDL kind of came about for just looking to have some fun with the community. That said, starting us off, we have a great match between Grim Daddy Dog himself and the Dragonite Kid. For those of you who are not familiar, Grim is a very formidable player. So is Dragonite. Dragonite tends to get in his head a little bit sometimes, and Grim will do some shenanigans. Without further ado, guys, let's get into this. We are looking at Kyogre going up against Calyrex Ice. And we see Whimsicott and Overqwil coming out to lead against Ogerpon and Grimmsnarl. Spiky Shield coming out and a Tailwind setup. There's our Reflect, and it doesn't matter. The Gunk Shot absolutely destroys. Okay, let's see where we go from here. We see a Follow Me coming in, and there is the Encore. A Crunch is a very interesting choice. You could potentially have seen Sludge Bomb do some massive damage. We can only assume he was aiming for the Calyrex Ice. Undoing his own Trick Room because he is stuck in the Encore shenanigans. Here comes Ditto. Ditto getting ready to be an absolute menace. Fire coming out from the Gastrodon. Taunt into Calyrex Ice, forcing the struggle. We see the swap into Whimsicott, the swap out back into Ogerpon. Muddy Water coming through. We see a crit hitting Ditto. And Glacial Lance is going to pick up the KO. The Grimnay hits, and it's Leftovers Ditto. As you could see, Grim came in with a game plan of, I am taking Calyrex. I don't care what you have. Calyrex is going to be mine. We see the Protect coming onto the Sludge Bomb. Another Glacial Lance coming out. 25% to Gastrodon is not a lot. We may have to see Grim change up what he's going for. And there is another Encore into Cali. Dragonite's going to have to adjust to this Encore shenanigans if he wants to get himself back in there. Tailwind is up, and it looks like this might just be Grim's game to take. It's just Calyrex Ice on Dragonite, staring down a full team of 3, and it is really just stuck protecting right now. We see the Glacial Lance going into that Protect. Calyrex, the Encore ends, fired into another Encore. Oh, and 45% off the +2. It is unfortunately just going to be too much damage. Dragonite hating Whimsicott. We see the Glacial Lance. And we are going to see... He gets the double Protect. How? How? Let this man... Let him go. We see a taunt. And we see the high horsepower going in. And that'll be the end of game 1. Very well played by Grim. Really manipulating what you can do with Whimsicott. Showing just what a terror this thing can be in VGC. And we go into game 2. For those who do not know, obviously this is a best of 3 set. And we see the leads of Scizor and Overqwil against Volcarona and Grimmsnarl. The immediate flip into Kyogre. We see Terra Steel to dodge that Gunk Shot. Will-O-Wisp going into Overqwil is an amazing start. Overqwil now is real neutered as far as the damage you can put out. The parting shout going into Kyogre, switching into the Calyrex with Gastrodon on the field. Here we see Grim go for a water move. There's the water spout, making Gastrodon stronger, and even at -1, it's so much damage into Cali. We see Whimsicott coming back out. We see the flip into Grimmsnarl. We see a Terra Water. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the Terra. You know what? It doesn't matter because it worked. Because it just works sometimes. We see the double into Calyrex. I wonder if Grim is any kind of a choice. He is not. Hydro Pump is going to get eaten by that Storm Train. This Gastrodon is becoming an absolute monster, and it gets the poison. Okay, we see Moonblast coming out. No special attack drop. We see Water Spout doing no damage. We see Sludge Bomb bringing Whimsicott down to Sash. The Trick Room set up from Calyrex. Unfortunately, Whimsicott Prankster is going to be able to stop that, except we have the switch, and it goes for Protect. Okay. Scizor losing almost all of its health. Close combat and Gastrodon bringing it down to half health. Overkill swapping in. Cover from the Gastro. Overheat is going to... Oh my gosh, the damage. Scizor coming back out. Not even a bullet punch, just to be petty. And that is game 2 going to Dragonite. So far, we're seeing a fantastic set. Just a lot of water moves going into that Gastrodon, which is probably not what Grim wanted to do. Probably not the smartest of choices. But we see Overquill and Whimsicott into the lead. We see a repeat lead of game 1, with the exception of Volcarona being here. We see Taunt going into the Volcarona. Will-O-Wisp cannot come out now. We see Terra Poison. Encore into the Ogerpon. Gunk Shot miss. That is unfortunate. We see the double spiky shield, that Overheat almost knocking out Overquill, but lowering the special attack by 2 on Volcarona. The flip into the Calyrex Ice. Swap into the Gastrodon. Gunk Shot into Gastrodon, doing half and poisoning is crazy damage from this Overquill. A very underrated mon, especially in a format like this. Ditto coming in and deciding he is an Ice type now. What can Calyrex do to this Scizor, though, is a very interesting option. We see Terrifier. U-turn. So Scizor is going to switch back out into Whimsicott. Glacial Lance coming in. It's going to bring Whimsicott down to Sash. Not a lot of damage coming in. Honestly, it's been very well played so far this game. I can't necessarily think of anything I would have done differently if I was either player. And the Overheat into Ditto. Oof, Overquill coming right back out. See the Encore going into Cali Ice. See the Gunk Shot almost completely taking out Gastrodon. Gastrodon is hurt by the poison. Gastrodon goes down. Scizor is back out. So Grim decide opting not to take his restricted this round after what we saw from Gastrodon last round. The dual wing beat, a great tech on Scizor, being able to knock it out. We see the spiky shield coming in. Calyrex has been encored into Protect. So as long as Grim can defend Whimsicott, he can continually encore off the Calyrex. Goes for the dual wing beat into the Calyrex slot. We see Ivy Cudgel knocking out the Whimsicott. Don't know if that was necessarily the best play, since Ogerpon is able to hit Scizor for neutral damage. We do see a Protect coming out from the Calyrex. The Ivy Cudgel, just oof, an insane amount of damage into the Scizor. See the taunt ending. Ivy Cudgel finishing off Scizor. A fantastic set. A fantastic set. I wonder where we would have been had the Ivy Cudgel... I'm sorry, not the Ivy Cudgel. Where we would have been had the Gunk Shot not have missed. But a great game all around by 2 fantastic players. Up next, we have Dawning Dondozo. Dondozo is beast, Mr. Down Bad Dozo himself. Going up against the Brawlic John, aka Moxieman's Fan 21. Shout out to me, I guess. We see a very strong team. We see Necrozma Dust going up against Mewtwo. The lead being Old Cat and Space Cat going up against Mewtwo and Skeledirge. We see Terra Fairy coming out from the Space Cat, a protectant for the Mewtwo. And a Snarl coming from Gouging Fire into a Zoroark. That Flamethrower is not going to do anything. Calm Mind is very, very interesting seeing this from Necrozma. Swap into the Skeledirge. There is the Psychic Terrain from Indeedee. However, we see that this has been 4 special attackers being brought. Flash Cannon goes into the Skeledirge. It's not going to do anything. But 4 special attackers and a very fast Mon that can just spam Snarl is not the situation you want to be in if you are Dondozo. We see Photon Geyser. That is going to do, oh my gosh, almost half on a resisted attack. We see Skeledirge going back to neutral. Follow Me coming back from Indeedee again. Just trying to preserve that Skeledirge as long as you can, but it's kind of going to be just a match of keeping Skeledirge at neutral at this point. It cannot get off what it really wants to do of spamming Torch Songs. Maybe if it was Throat Spray, you could have been at least at a +1. However, we are just seeing Torch Song versus Snarl, essentially. It's going to be very interesting. The swap into Mewtwo, I don't know if I necessarily agree with that swap. Indeedee was going to go down. Mewtwo, I don't think is going to do much here. Okay, it was a Zoroark. Never mind. And the Photon Geyser just picking up that Skeledirge. We see Mewtwo coming back out with Indeedee, setting up the Psychic Terrain again. Para Fighting is an interesting call. I don't know if I necessarily would have made that move, seeing Necrozma just outright spamming Photon Geyser. But now, which Mewtwo is the real one? Oh, it was a Zoroark the whole time! We see the Expanding Force coming out, the crit into the Space Cat, absolutely knocking it out. Hyper Voice, we see a double KO in the end, which is amazing. For Dondozo right now, we see Dino Cat and Weird Cat Aura Sphere going into Dino Cat, even hitting for half. You see the Snarls just paying so much dividends. High horsepower into the Mewtwo, Expanding Force, flipping the Psy Spam. Game 1 going to the Staten Island Snorlax and Brawlic Haunt. So game 2, we see just outright lead with the Psy Spam. Not a bad call, especially since you see Old Cat and Space Cat coming right back out, ready to do the same shenanigans. But here's the question, is it Zoroark? It was Zoroark! Shadow Ball going into the Old Cat. We see Shy Shock going into Old Cat. It is very clear Dondozo must realize this is my threat. I have to stop it. We see, the Burning Bulwark. It is not going to get off that extra benefit of being able to burn anyone. However, it's still Team Special Attackers going up against Snarl. It is an uphill battle for sure for Dondozo. We see the Snarl coming back out again. Photon Geyser going into the Skeledirge. 73% off of 1. We see the hit into Old Cat. We see a Trick Room coming up. Now we see Mewtwo coming in. I'm wondering if it's slow Mewtwo? The Protect. So that's a pretty decent read here. That's a good turn for Dozo. We see a Protect coming out, making sure the Torch Song doesn't do anything. Expanding Force. It is slower than Gouging Fire, which is fantastic. So now they no longer have to worry about the Snarl. You have to put up with this giant Tyranitar going for the Terra Ghost. Double Protect from the Mewtwo. Yeah, I mean, you were no longer in that super favorable position for Trick Room, as you were before. Let's see how Dozo decides to play it. The swap into Indeedee, that'll be able to eat up any kind of Terra Ghost. Just switching into the Skeledirge with a high horsepower, and the Flash Cannon going into Indeedee. A fantastic read coming out from the Staten Island Snorlax. We see Mewtwo coming back out again. Another Protect from Space Cat. A Follow Me. Dark Pulse is going to do so much, but just not enough. See the knockoff battle take it out, and it looks like this one is all done and dusted. Unless Mewtwo wants to rally, which, I mean, it is Mewtwo, you never know. Photon Geyser coming out into the Mewtwo, doing 45%. Sandstorm chipping away at its health. And then we see Weird Cat coming in just for the petty Intimidate. We see a Protect. We see another Protect. What does Weird Cat go for? Goes for the Expanding Force. Weird Cat is just trying to pad his stats for the season. Expanding Force coming out. Do we see? And that is the death of Mewtwo. That is a fantastic set. Really well played by John. Excellent, excellent example of prepping for your team, because he came into it looking at it and going, hey, a lot of special attackers. What are you going to do against Fast Snarl? And it just worked. Not mentioned before because I'm an awful host, but John's entire team was picked by rolling dice. He did not pick a single Pokemon of his own volition. So seeing what he was able to do just with a random team, great work, and I can't wait to watch them for the rest of this. Coming up next, we have Sheo going up against Tommy. Tommy and I are somewhere between frenemies. and just enemies. It hasn't been decided yet. It hasn't been decided yet. But the rule of the season is if Tommy has a Mon and it does well, it goes up a tier. Goes up a tier next season. It's just what happens. Sorry, Tommy. Anyway, so we have Shayo coming out, leading off with Klefki, and why am I blanking on the Lurantis? Terrastellar Lurantis getting burnt by Swalot. Swalot going for stuffed cheeks. Going for... What? What is going on? It is just using Stellar Terra Blast, and it is just going for the most. Unfortunately, that is a clear Smog Swalot, stopping any hopes of just spamming for contrary boosts. That body press doing so much damage into the keys. We see the keys going for a Dazzling Gleam. I am noticing, aside from the fact that Minun is here, which is just the best Pokemon of all time, Shay has opted to not bring his restricted Pokemon. There is 0 restricted Pokemon coming from Shay's team. We see Torkoal coming out. I lied. There's the true restricted. Light screen coming up. There's the eruption too. Oh my gosh. Swalot getting absolutely obliterated. Unfortunately, Giratina is just the thickest of boys. And now we see Lumina Crash coming in, lowering this special defense. We see another eruption doing insane damage from this Torkoal. Trick Room is back up on this speed boosting Espartha. We see the Protect coming out, another eruption. This is the little Torkoal who's definitely trying, but I cannot stress enough how chunky this Giratina is. 22% from the keys though is a nice thing to see. Let's see, we see Protect coming out from the Giratina. Heat Wave landing its target, knocking out the Espartha. Chi-Yu coming out, the meanest of all fish. Heat Wave coming through, doing so much damage, especially now that Chi-Yu is here, but Icy Wind lowering their speed yet again. Not the best play in Trick Room, but we see Dazzling Gleam, but now it's the Chi-Yu and the Sun, and that Heat Wave going to absolutely obliterate Torkoal, and now it is a Chi-Yu versus some keys. Unfortunately, Shay making the mistake, Prankster on a Dark type, leading Tommy to take game 1. Great set by them, especially with, I don't know what Shay's bringing. Shay is the Spice Master 3000, but with that, let's get into game 2. Shay leading off with Minun and Staraptor into Espartha and Chi-Yu. We're going to see Helping Hand come into the Chi-Yu. Kakao going for Protect. Squire getting hit by the Heat Wave. This poor Minun did not deserve that. We see coming out. We see another Helping Hand. Do we see the Heat Wave again? It misses. Cloyster is living. Icicle Spear doing a great chunk of damage with that Skill Link ability from Plip. It's going to knock out the Espartha. We see Wo Chen and Chi-Yu just next to each other. It's the Ruins, and it is Heat Wave, just absolute oof. And the Burn on top of it. So Burn plus the Tablet of Ruin. Gotta make sure that Cloyster just cannot get going here, which is super unfortunate. And we're probably gonna see this fish click Heat Wave yet again. And that is the game. That is the set. Always credit for Shay for coming out here and deciding that he is going to just figure out something. I don't know what it is yet. I'm not sure if Shay knows what it is yet, but it's an absolutely great game. Love seeing just absolute shenanigans on my screen. And now we have the head of the league himself, Mr. Forced Fate. Fun fact for you guys about Fate, when I went to the Toronto Regionals, Fate met up with me because he is in fact Canadian. And he took such good care of me, Chad. He made sure I was hydrated. He had snacks with him to make sure I wasn't gonna die. Fate is a gentleman. Going up against Carly, and we have Hiram White going up against Perish Trap, Calyrex S, because Fate has decided to choose violence. Let's see how this one goes. We see Gyapdos and Screamtail. That is the best sprite ever. I've never noticed it before. Going up against Slowking and Florida. Slowking most likely going to try and set up a Trick Room. Perish Song is just here. Chilling Reception. He is going to get the heck out of Dodge. And we see Hiram White in. Not an amazing place to be if you are Gyarados. We see Gothitelle coming out. A U-turn from Charles III. We see Screamtail coming back in. We see a Blizzard doing massive damage. Pollen Puff going into... Oof. The trap is gone. There is no more trap. Carly's on. Very healthy. All very, very healthy. We see Terra Steel. We see a knockoff going into the Kyurem. Kyurem's Assault Vest is now gone. That's probably going to come into play, seeing as how there's Calyrex Ice here. We see a Protect coming out from the Primarina. We see Knockoff not going into that Protect. Another Perish Song. Again, choosing just Violence. But it is smart, right? Perish Song can wind up forcing switches, putting your opponent in bad positions. Knockoff going into the Primarina, taking out that Throat Spray. Terra Blast doing decent damage. We see the Blizzard coming out. And it is 3 against 1. But double Perish Song's up. Napoleon is here. The swap into Slowking is not... Okay, I mean, I don't know if I would do it because this is super effective. That's exactly why I wouldn't do it, by the way. But I get it. You bring out your biggest special walls, but now this is a +1 Astral Barrage. This is now going to be a +3 Astral Barrage with just what I'm assuming is going to be the reverse sweep now that Kyurem does not have an Assault Vest. Honestly, even with an Assault Vest, I don't think it matters. And the crit is just insult to injury on top of that. Great. It was a great job by Carly of not getting Perish Trapped. Unfortunately, the only Perish Trap that worked on this one is Calyrex S existing. So now, we're going to game 2. Let's see, we see... Stanchik? Someone correct in the comments. Let me know how you pronounce this Meowstic. We see First Impression going into Napoleon. We see the Psychic Terrain expanding force, the manual Psy Spam. In comes the Trick Room. We see a Protect coming through. Fake Tears, unfortunately, Psychic Terrain, guys. I can't speak. Psychic Terrain preventing anything with Prankster, which may be stopping Meowstic from doing anything? Depending on what this set is. We see an Astral Barrage coming out. Might as well just go for broke. And oh my lord. Florges did not want that. We see the Protect coming out from the Meowstic. A Protect coming out from the Florges. Protect fails. We see the Helping Hand. On the last term. Helping Hand Protect. I don't entirely know what's going on there. But Helping Hand Protect. We see the Throat Spray coming out from the Primarina. Pollen Puff is going to get blocked. What do we see come out now? Bisharp is here. Obviously, that's got to be an EV-Light Bisharp. I mean, it could be more, but I would assume. We see an Astral Barrage coming through. Farigiraf doesn't care. Iron Head doing nothing. I'm assuming we'll see a Protect. Oof, just a straight-out Expanding Force and a Swords Dance. We see that Dazzling Gleam not doing much. That Hyper Voice, on the other hand, doing a huge chunk of damage. That was a very heads-up play by Carly, making sure that nothing happened there. We see the U-turn going into the Farigiraf, dodging the Psychic type weakness. Citrus Berry going through. The Iron Head knocks out Primarina. Wind Beam, which is going to hit twice and do massive damage to Gyarados. Flygon is here. First Impression will take out the boy. We have just the end of this game was fantastic. Great play by Carly, making that switch in the end to make sure that Farigiraf was there to eat that Astral Barrage before anything started spiraling out of control. Great adjustment from Game 2. Now we move on to Game 3. We see Fate leading off with the Perish Trap again, going up against Flygon and Farigiraf. We see the Protect coming out. We see double Protect, making sure we block that First Impression. I'm assuming we see a Trick Room here. No, it is the Hyper Voice. Okay, let's see what we got. We go right into the Perish Trap shenanigans. We see a U-turn coming out. Flygon says, "You cannot trap me." Psychic, taken by the Primarina. Trick Room is here. Perish Song count falls to 2. No, it falls to 3. Guys, I'm recording this late at night for an old man like myself. We see Twin Beam going into the Screamtail. We see a Hyper Voice coming out. That is going to do great damage into the Screamtail, resetting the Perish Song. There is no leaving for this Primarina. We see the swap into Gyarados. Dazzling Gleam going to do great damage into Zapdos. We see Hyper Voice taking it out. Heal Pulse has failed. Great tech for a switch-in. That is a great tech for a switch-in. We see Calyrex Shadow coming out. I'm assuming we're just going to see Protect and a swap. There's the swap. Do we see the Protect? There is the Protect. And that is Farigiraf going down to the Perish Trap. And now, here's what gets fun. No, there's still Trick Room going on. Do we see the swap out again? We see Gothitelle coming back in. There's a Protect. Protect on the Perish turn is... I mean, you really don't have too many options, I guess. But you should have probably just attacked on for damage there. We see the Perish coming out. And now it is Flygon and Florges going up against the Napoleon. Parafairy, we see the Protect. It's going to... Oh! Okay, first impression not going into the Calyrex Shadow. You see that Astral Barrage going to do a ton of damage. Perish Count Trap falls to 2. Astral Barrage coming in again. And I'm noticing yet another round where we did not bring in the Restricted again. Very interesting choice. I feel like you definitely should have brought the Assault Vest user. But at the same time, I mean, I can't say it didn't work. Right, now we see the Perish coming through. And that is game 3. Horrifyingly scary performance from Calyrex Shadow. Absolute menace. I'm scared. I'm scared for the rest of the season. Coming up next, we have the Mod Father himself taking Miraidon, going up against PokeNerd, our newest addition to the draft team, with what appears to be a makeshift size spam, because Indeedee Female was taken. Now, let's see what we've got going on. We see Miraidon and Iron Jugulus taking the lead in against Palafin and Armarouge. Now, PokeNerd really wanted to make sure that Palafin was taken. We see the Endure, we see a Taunt. There's the Flip Turn. Weak Armor procced. Just going for full OG Armarouge stats. There goes the Psychic Terrain. Quark Drive stops. In comes the booster. The Volt Switch. A perfect play by Bryu there. We see coming back into the Miraidon. But I'm going to assume... And there's a Snarl, which is massive damage. That booster speed is very easy to underestimate Iron Jugulus. And it lives on 1! No way, that's incredible. We see the Snarl coming in again, going into the Lunala and into the Armarouge, taking out the Armarouge, another Volt Switch. Meteor Beam coming out, going into the Armarouge. Oh no, going into the Gardevoir and the miss! Here comes the Palafin. There's a Snarl. Now we have PokeNerd's strongest physical attacker. No, not strongest. He does have Fire Mask Ogerpon. Moongeist Beam doing massive damage into Gardevoir. Moonblast doing huge damage into the Palafin as well. Hitmontop is here. Hitmontop with the Intimidate and the Fake Out pressure. We see you Protect. We see Bullet Punch going into Lunala. That unfortunately will not be enough. Wave Crash, maybe a little bit dangerous considering the health that is left. But Hitmontop just eating it. Hitmontop is a bulky boy. Wave Crash going into the Gardevoir. Only 2% recoil, not that bad. In comes Miraidon. Miraidon definitely outspeeding this Palafin. Or not. That is a very interesting stat to learn, that Miraidon did not outspeed Palafin. Palafin not typically known for zooming. Not known for zooming at all. But that is a great game won by 2 absolute legends of the community. Go to game 2. Okay, now we see Miraidon and Iron Moth lead. Another dangerous lead. We see Spiritomb and Lunala here with the booster special attack and the +1 defense with Electric Seed. Massive damage from that Volt Switch. Absolutely massive. We see the Sludge Wave going in Telepathy. Fortunately, not doing enough here because you're going into double resists. That Meteor Beam, if it goes into Iron Moth, is just the end of that Moth. The absolute end. Did anybody see a Moth? I didn't see a Moth. We see Gardevoir getting burnt. Not the end of the world. You don't really have any kind of physical moves there. Miraidon coming back out. Going into the Terra Electra. Do we see the Electro Drift? We see a Helping Hand. Discharge. That is brutal next to Telepathy. Absolutely brutal next to Telepathy. Miraidon just known for being just so deadly with its electric attacks. We see a Helping Hand going into the Discharge. Again, doing so much damage even without the terrain. We see Gardevoir getting hit. The Expanding Force doing a lot of damage, but is it too little too late? Here is the Ogerpon. There is a Spiky Shield. Do we see we see an Endure coming out. Discharge comes in. That will bring down to 1 with the power to insult to injury into the Electro Drift to end that set. Honestly, I can't say anything PokeNerd could have done differently, right? When you look at this, sometimes you just run into Miraidon. Sometimes you just run into Miraidon. And it is what it is, but a fantastic set by both players. Both coaches should be proud of what they did. So now, we are looking at Plezio going up against me. So, Plezio's team leads an interesting challenge. We have Koraidon Sun. He has Dialga Origin. He took a Chlorophyll Mon to outspeed me. Let's get right into it. We have Suicune and Talonflame with the lead going into Garchomp and Hippowdon. We wanted to have some kind of an answer for Earthquake spam. We go for the Tailwind. We go for a Calm Mind. He clicks Rock Slide, which brings Talonflame down to 1. And my dumb 7 a.m. playing self forgot about Sand Chip for a minute. So Talonflame goes down. Suicune is drowsy. We gotta bring out Koraidon. Let's get rid of this chip. Let's lower what they can do. We go fall right into Plezio's hands here. Collision Course doing decent damage into Jumpluff. Ice Beam. We wanted the KO. We were thirsty for the KO. We don't pick up the KO. Now Suicune is a very sleepy Mon. We see the Protect coming out. Sleep Powder into the Koraidon. Not going to be able to put Koraidon to sleep. Flame Charge into the Jumpluff. I did not realize I had Tailwind up. I didn't understand I was going to outspeed. So we do have Suicune getting, I believe, maximum sleep turns. In comes Hippowdon. Paragrass, try and eat something. We go for the Protect. He goes for the Protect. We wake up. We go for the Ice Beam into the Garchomp. Still thirsty for the KO. Still clicking Protect. We do wind up living that Earthquake. And then we get some Sand Chip. So then, swap out into Fluttermane, and then we learn Fluttermane does not like taking Earthquakes. Fluttermane does not like to take Earthquakes. Sand Tomb comes in. It is Koraidon and a Dream. And this Dream kills Garchomp. I was genuinely surprised. The Dream is now sleepy. The Dream is very sleepy. In comes Dialga Origin. We go for the Collision Course into Hippowdon. The crit winds up killing the Hippowdon. And the Draco Meteor takes out Koraidon. That is our game 1. Greatly played by Plezio. I was thirsty for some kills. And we done goofed. So now, game 2. We just lead Koraidon and Fluttermane. Because why not? Dialga and Incineroar are here. We do see the Intimidate coming out. Revealing we are Clear Amulet. We swap into Suicune. We wind up going for Protect. Flash Cannon. Suicune eats that Flash Cannon knockoff. Unfortunately, that knockoff is going to do more than we wanted to. We do see the swap into Hippowdon. Para Flying coming out from Dialga. Collision Course without the Sun doing less than half. And that Flash Cannon doing way more than half. So at this point, we do have to make sure we preserve, so we swap into Trevenant. We go for the Protect with our Suicune. Dodge the Draco Meteor. We eat up that Earthquake because of the fact that we are a Grass type. But unfortunately, we do not have the Sun like we want. Ice Beam going into the Dialga, doing so much damage. Fire Blast comes out of Dialga. I didn't know the thing could learn Fire Blast. Didn't know. Earthquake comes through. It is a telepathy user. We do wind up getting to bring in Fluttermane. We swap out into our Koraidon. Fluttermane now has Photosynthesis going. We Terra Fairy. Protect comes out. We go for the Bedazzling Gleam. Knocking out Dialga. Hippowdon just chilling. In comes an Incineroar. I believe this is, Fake Out into the Fluttermane slot. Collision Course into Incineroar will absolutely remove Incineroar from existence. The crit does not matter on that, even at a +1. If you're doing it in the Sun, it's going. Now, we do see the Drowsy that is coming into effect. We go for a Protect on Koraidon, just in case he winds up going for any kind of move. Sand Tomb into the Koraidon. Suicune chillin'. Protect from the Hippowdon. Collision Course into the Garchomp does massive, massive damage. The Earthquake, though, knocking both Mons out. So now, it is Sun. We have Fluttermane in the back. We are Terra Fairy. He goes for the Protect. We go for the Moonblast into Hippowdon. Does huge damage. He goes for a Yawn into Fluttermane. We have to predict the Protect. Garchomp's Protect does not work. Hippowdon's does. We go for a Moonblast. Garchomp goes down. But we are now a sleepy Fluttermane. What can you do? You fall asleep. Earthquake does huge damage into Fluttermane. It's wake up or lose, and we wake up, and we're able to take game 2. Now going into game 3. Will there be adjustments to be made? We go back to game 1 strategy. He goes back to game 1 strategy. It is now a problem. So, learn from your mistakes. Taunt the Hippowdon. Go for the Rock Slide. And I believe we go for the Ice Beam pretty much off rip to try and get Garchomp out of there. We do, knocking out the Garchomp. Hippowdon still chilling at 100% health though. But Taunted does mean we get to do some shenanigans, right? So now we got Fluttermane out. We see Jumpluff coming in. We go Terra Grass. We fire off a Dazzling Gleam. He goes for Sleep Powder into the Suicune. Doesn't matter. We Ice Beam, get rid of the Jumpluff. Now, this, honestly, we probably should have prioritized the Hippowdon, right? We're not super worried about Jumpluff at this stage with how we are. Fluttermane comes out. We swap into Koraidon. Plezio, if I remember correctly, we go for the Ice Beam, 21%. Fire Blast into the Suicune. Knocks out Suicune. The Earthquake doing 36%. So just absolutely massive damage coming out of the Hippowdon slot. We go for the Moonblast into the Dialga. We were talking to our daughter, and we clicked the wrong button and let Koraidon get taken out by that. Earthquake comes into the Fluttermane, knocks out the Fluttermane. Plezio gets the win. Absolutely great set on Plezio's behalf. We give Plezio a lot of crap in the Discord. Plezio does play phenomenally every single time. If you do wind up joining this lead, just because we give him that ish, don't underestimate it. don't underestimate people. It's the moral of every story, right? But that was a phenomenal set. It's always a pleasure going up against Plezio. And let's get into the last game of week 1. We have Master Phoenix, Season 1 champ, going up against Rocco Gambino, Season 4 champ. Always these two running into each other. We've got Groudon going up against Terrapagos. We see Cutemon and Syakomon, which just Digimon references, going to Dazzle the Philosopher's Stone. Taunt going into the Clefairy, which is an absolutely phenomenal first move. Alluring Voice going into the Terra Shell. Confusing the Terrapagos, which is very great planning, because, you know, nobody assumes Clefairy to run any kind of an attack. We see the Taunt going into the Hydrapple. Stella Terror is here. Stored Power, basically treating it like this is a raid boss. The confusion just ends. Terra Starstorm knocks out the Hydrapple. Fake Tears going into the Slowbro. And there is Iron Hands, the bane of all existence for Terrapagos. We see a knockoff going in, taking out the Assault Vest. Excuse me for the mid-recording burp. We see a Scald come in. Drain Punch doing huge damage. Chople Berry is an absolutely inspired choice, especially followed up with the Fake Tears at the very last turn of Trick Room. Terra Starstorm finishing off the two of them, and now it is just the little Clefairy who could, getting hit by the Fake Tears, hit by the Terra Starstorm, and that will be game 1. Great set between the two of these phenomenal players. Game 2 coming in. What are the adjustments that we are going to see? Iron Hands and Clefairy as the lead, going up against Bedazzle the Philosopher's Stone. Not as favorable as it used to be. We see the Fake Out going into the Clefairy, Fake Out going into the Terrapagos, breaking the Terra Shell, causing the flinch. Flinch coming out from the Clefairy. Stella Terror is here. The problem is this Iron Hands is just going to do crazy damage. Terra Starstorm not going to be able to do enough. Huge damage, considering that is through a Coppleberry. Another Helping Hand. Going for the Protect this time. Knockoff. You maybe go for a Fake Tears in this situation. You really want to try and kill. And the Drain Punch. Getting the health back. Getting hit by the Rocky Helmet. Another Fake Tears. We see the Terra Starstorm. Almost enough to finish it off. Drain Punch, though, is going to bring Iron Hands back up to so much health. Ogre Pond Wellspring is here. Follow me, Ivy Cudgel, knocking that out. We see the taunt going into the Iron Hands, but this Drain Punch is going to do huge damage. In comes Snorlax, Terra Grass, great call into an Ogerpon. We see Taunt coming out into Sleepmon, Drain Punch will knock out Bedazzle. And what is Snorlax going for? Double Edge. Oh, this is all business. There's that stupid Toilet Bird. I hate Pelipper. I hate Pelipper. It's the worst Pokemon of all time. The Ivy Cudgel going in. Water Absorb. Getting a little bit of health back off the Surf. There goes Ogerpon to a double edge from Snorlax. That's incredible. I'm so glad that... Oh, Pelipper deserved that. Pelipper deserves getting paralyzed. Pelipper deserves getting Thunder Punched. Pelipper deserves getting KO'd. And that is the game for Master Phoenix. Rocco being betrayed by the Pelipper. Game 3. This one is for all the marbles. We see Snorlax and Iron Hands coming out. We have got Galapagos still here. We see the... Okay. Calm Mind coming out, but this Snorlax, we cannot forget how much damage it just did. That terrible... It has to be banned. That damage from Snorlax, this thing has to be banned. We see a Protect coming out. Drain Punch going into the Ogerpon slot. We see the Double Edge going in. At this point, you kind of have to double the Snorlax, but you can't just ignore what's going on with the Iron Hands. Wild Charge is going to knock out. Oh, that's not a great turn. Okay, you're alive, right? So you do have some plays. We see Bedazzle coming out. Groudon is back in. Fake out into Groudon. Terra Starstorm is not enough to KO the Snorlax. Snorlax picking up another kill before taking itself out with the recoil. Oh, there's the awful Toilet Bird again. We see a Protect coming out from Groudon. We see a Protect coming out. Fake Tears. Drain Punch. Unfortunately, I just don't think there's enough power left on Rocco's side to be able to take this back. I wonder if he's going to prove me wrong. But here comes Hydrapple. We see the Citrus Berry coming off. We see the Hurricane going in, and it is not enough to pick up the KO on the Iron Hands. Iron Hands gaining some health back, losing it to the Rocky Helmet. Swap back into Groudon. Make the Hurricane basically... Oh, we land the Hurricane. We land the 50% Hurricane. Pickle Beam with a crit, just for good measure. Thunder Punch goes out, and down goes Pelipper. Ladies and gentlemen, that is week 1 of the BMDL. We'll have a more formal stat breakdown, I think, for the next episode. We'll try and prep that for you guys. For this one, I say the MVP of the week. It's got to go to Calyrex Shadow Rider. It picked up every single KO of the game. Monstrous performance from the Pokemon. Absolutely dominated everything it ran into. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you guys. If you stuck around to the end, please leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of the first week of the BMDL. If you want up-to-date info as it comes out week to week, please feel free to join our Discord. We will leave the link in the description down below. Everybody, thank you for your time. I genuinely appreciate each and every one of you. And have a good time, and we'll see you next week.